Good, thank you. Welcome panel, welcome participants. Thank you for joining us. The title of the session, Harmonization of Standards and Certification, is we want to try to bring out this idea of harmonization, but first of all we have to kind of educate you on what we're talking about with various forms of standards and certification. We have represented here a number of different approaches. A few of them have some similarities. These companies like Control Union and Bureau Veritas and GICIA have some similarities in terms of operating in many, many sectors. So they have some similarities. So I'll ask you that if you're second or third, please try not to repeat too much of what's already been presented, but try to do as best you can in terms of distinguishing, what you're doing. But we want to try to draw out a theme of where we're trying to come up from with the harmonization is because there's so many standards and so many certification schemes in the world, how do you partner with others? How do you communicate your services in a way that you differentiate? Try to put yourself in the place of the consumer of learning and using standards and the consumer of certification to differentiate and help them understand why they would choose your service and so forth. Now, Mr. Upali comes from a national program, so you have a different, you don't have the competitive set that the others do because you're just speaking to your Sri Lanka set, so it's a little bit easier for you. But then, it'd be interesting for us to hear how, a national program would work that you're building. So hopefully that all makes sense, and we're going to hear one by one, and we're going to go, I think we have this order correctly. We definitely start with Martin. We'll all review it while you go up there. Martin, you're definitely first, so please. You want to use the podium? And here's the, let's hope that works.
Hi everyone, my name is Martin. I'm very happy to present about one of a very core section about this GSTT system. So I would like to share some more basic idea. So hopefully, I think you get more understanding about certification and accreditation, and also how system it works. So it's not that difficult. So I think so it causes some sleepy time because the certification itself is quite boring, procedure and documentation. So please relax and please listen. Okay, let me start with my explanation about my company. Control Union is, okay, sorry, there's some couple of the Korean word. Yeah, we established in 1920 and then based in the Netherlands, Rotterdam city. And currently we are established in the 70 countries with over 3,500 people, worker. So we also family-owned company, so we specialize in the certification and inspection and commodity the quality management kind of things. So our group is focused on the B2B service market. So our motto is a supply and value chain solution providing, built by individual who cares. That's our group motto toward our market and then our customer. Okay, we have a couple of service area. First one is inspection, and second one is certification. Third one is a CMA, is a collateral management service, and next one is industrial inspections. Then also for certification, I think most of you have interest about certification. We specialize in the biomass and agriculture, forest, and some fishery things. Then it's mostly based in the natural resources. So for chemical and energy sector, we are a little bit behind, but we are very specialized in the managing and delivering more sustainability in the natural resources. Okay, so we are, for certification service, we are offering only third-party certification program. So, yeah, partly we provide a second-party verification and certification, but our service scope is a third-party certification. So I will explain you more about what is a third-party certification program. Okay, this for the certification, this is our procedure, the flow of our services. We inspect the supplier, also surveillance audit, and sampling and testing service. Also, we write a report and verification and traceability track. Also, we mostly do the on-site audit. So wherever client wants to have a certification, basically we do the on-site audit. So, but sometimes case by case, there is a desk audit, but mostly we are based on the on-site audit. Okay. I think it's very simple knowledge, but I would like to emphasize once more. There is a little bit in the market, there is a little bit misunderstanding, misleading the concept of accreditation and certification. I think, but most of you are from very expert professional in this area, but somehow there is a slight different understanding. So I would like to specify once more what is the accreditation bodies, and then what is the terms, and according to the ISO standard. If you see this page, accreditation is a ISO standard code 17011. Specifies requirement for the competence, consistent operation, and impartiality of accreditation bodies, assessing and accrediting conformity assessment bodies. This is simply monitoring and certifying the certification body. So it's a little bit upper entity to control and monitoring and surveil the certification body. So it's like a little bit higher, position who carry out and monitoring all the certification bodies. So mostly accreditation body and accreditation service is done by government body, also more international or global some entity. So also they requires, according to the ISO 7011. Also, it's major key element is competence and system and impartiality. Because these three items, competence, system, and impartiality, is also very key factor for the certification body. So to monitor and to accrediting certification body, the three sector also is quite important to the accreditation body. So that's is an accreditation body. So in GSTC case, ASI is a German-based accreditation body, is a main entity to control overall GSTC program. Okay, for certification body, certification is a little bit a marketing word and a very common word, but in the ISO word, it says conformity assessment body. So simply CAP, it called a CAP. So in the standard word, certification body is normally called a CAP. So it means it should follow ISO 17065, the 2012, there is an update version. So conformity assessment, there is a requirement for bodies certifying product, process, and services. So this CAP undergoing the two major parts. First one is assessment and making report and result. The second part is decision making, whether eligible or feasible to issue the certificate or not. So there is two major functions for a certification body.
I'm sorry to interrupt you without warning you, but, and this is actually, I should have told you, if we go back to the previous slide, why I wanted you to go first, because I was appreciating what you're doing on those two slides. Because I just want to emphasize that, you know, you mentioned that ASI is the accreditation body that we subcontract with, but we have a responsibility in securing their services that we adhere to ISO 17011. I want to make that point, but mostly I want to make the point that the terminology we're using is not something we've created. The ISO standards are really the best global system in the world, they're universally accepted. We hear the wrong terms almost all the time. So I wanted you to understand that whatever we say about this at GSTC is not us alone. Certification is a third party that's auditing and looking at a producer, right? That goes directly to the company, right? Accreditation is a higher level. There are whole countries I've discovered in the world that have it completely backwards, and it's just a mess. And I would just urge you that, okay, you don't need to memorize that it's ISO 17065 and it's ISO 17011, but I want you to take this point away from you today, is that all of us on this stage are following these, that these are universally accepted structures. The terminology is universally accepted, and to the best you can, try to follow the terminology because there are specific meanings in the English language. I want to make one more comment. In the English language, we use the word certificate loosely, and we use the word certification in this context very specifically. Often in Asian cultures, I've noticed from doing a lot of workshops and training, we give somebody a certificate at the end of the day. And it's really hard for me, because to me a certificate is something you should earn, not sit in a room all day long. But in Asian culture, we do that all the time. Certification in English means there was a real process. So whatever you think of the word certificate for some piece of paper you get for something, please, when you see certification, kindly recognize that what we're talking about is you went through a process. You earned whatever you got. So sorry for the interruption, but thank you for these slides.
Okay, no problem. Always welcome your further comments. Yeah, the reason I'm talking to you is to go for this slide, because why certification? Why certificate paper is needed? That's for communication, because communication. Who want to see the result. This is a global standard, harmonized, and then guaranteed or assured. So this is the way of one of the way of communication to the market. So how? Through the label and through the claims. So so I would like to introduce more other cases because still GSTC is developing more and more in detail, but there is a more like elder brother certification system, so they have a more very good example. So I would like to give us some advice or more additional case to follow up. Then it gives very clear communication to the market. So I think I would like to so share more idea about how other program communicate to the market, to the consumer. So if you see the GSTC accreditation manual, there is two types of accreditation: is approved, recognized, and accredited. But I will not tell the detail. There's a GSTC description in the manual. Also in the label, there is if the entity is a GSTC accredited, then the label can be eligible to put in some brochure on homepage, or what they can use. Also, ASI accredited is somehow similar. Also, they can allow to use the label and some claims. But I talked to you some other program, they specified somehow more in detail description. We call this claim. So as you see, this FSC is a Sustainable Forest Management Program, and they says they have a FSC 100% and mix and recycle. Also, they have a very detailed, logo color and size, minimum size, and the component to be assured to indicate. So this is a very compulsory element to indicate. So I think it gives very clear communication way to the market. So maybe GSTC can be developed, right, more further this way. This is a product level. Next one is a promotion level. So promotion is who owns the certificate. They can claim that. So we are the member of FSC. We are the certificate holder of FSC. So they can promote the mark of responsible forest and then forest for all, forever, kind of things. But also they made some regulation as well. So also it gives some more transparent their message. Also can be a submission of the FSC. But in case of GSTC, can be made a very transparent communication message to the market. So can be very one of good way to communicate to the market. This is some simple question. But for other program is very similar. Our SPO is a sustainable palm oil. Also we are certifying this program. There is a couple of systems. It's a mass balance system and 100% containing. So they have a couple of systems and different logo and tag and statements. Through the statements, they communicate to the market. So you can see slight different content. So also, because GCC has a couple of modules, hotel and tours, also destination, also their upcoming program. So it can maybe specify more, according to the vision or the transformation message to the market. So then it would be easier to indicate through the label and claims. Just also many different color and different types. Because as a certification body, why is it necessary? Because it's very like a kindergarten level. But in the market, everyone want to use very freely without any limitation. Because we are worried, like a greenwashing, because they want to describe whatever they want to do. So then, association and certification program has their aim and vision. So as a logo approval entity, certification body, we have to regulate it. So that's why they made a very detailed this guideline. So hopefully, maybe if they increase and more developed, so it can be also necessary later. There's another program as well, but I think there's a very general my concept how we can elaborate to make a more transparent and communication channel to the client sector. There's also obligation or part of our certification body's job. So that's my message to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a nice, thank you very much. A nice summary of the communication. Did you notice on the bottom of the labels a little coding? So these entities that have been established, FSC and MSC, have big compliant departments where, because imagine if you're a business that's gone through the expense and effort to earn the logo and you see that there's false usage of it, there are policemen for that. So it's all specifically coded. So the labeling business is an interesting one, so thank you for that. So, Xiaoti, could you carry on and tell us what you're doing with your organization in China?
So, hello everyone. My name is Xiaoti Ma. I'm from China, and I'm working for China Standard Conformity Assessment Corporation. And our corporation is one of the certification body in China. And what we work for is certification programs about international certification, international sustainability certification program in China. We would like to promote all the international sustainability certification program promotion and implement in China. So this is our business, and we reached sustainability since 2012. Firstly, we have got relationship with Rainforest Alliance to promote their sustainable agriculture in China. And also we implement FSC and also the Better Cotton Initiative, Fair World, and also we have a relationship MOU with RSPO, AWS, and also 3 years ago we reached and got in touch with GSTC, and also we worked together with GSTC and also Australia EarthCheck. We also would like to, and in these 2 years, we implement sustainability tourism in China and under the cooperation with GSTC, and also implement the audit, on-site audit in China under the framework of EarthCheck. So I do not have yeah, so that's my corporation business and our main responsible for. I do not have the slides for our corporation detailed introduction, just a brief introduction. So later, I would say the sustainable tourism in China. And first of all, I have to say something about our China policy and regulation. As far as you know, China is a policy leading country. All certification program and all tourism and all standards certification program have to enter our China policy and regulation. With the strategy, with the policy guide, we can implement successfully sustainable tourism. So first, I have to say our Chinese policy background. And China, we have our 5-year plan. Each 5 years, we will set our objectives on the society and also the economic development. And in 2016, we developed the 17th 5-year plan, we called, and that period is from the 2016 to 2020. And we have 5 key concerns about this 5-year plan. So one is the green growth. Our Chinese government has already put and concentrate on the green growth and integrate sustainability development into our national development strategy. And after our national plan for tourism sector, we also developed our 16th 5-year plan in tourism sector. And also this 5-year plan is our high priority development in our tourism sector. And also we put the green growth and sustainability development into our tourism sector development in China. And also I'd like to share some background of China. Actually, during the 17th 5-year plan is already started right now, and in tourism sector, we already have many standards related to tourism. But you can say the numbers around 30 national standards and more than 50 industrial standards and hundreds of local standards and enterprise standards. That's what we have in China right now. But actually, even we have those kind of standards, but that standards most concentrate and focus on the maybe service quality, and we not give much concern on the sustainability. So that's our opportunities, because China right now do not have a real integrate and very comprehensive sustainable tourism standards in China. So recently, CSCA, my agency, have many years working experience in promoting sustainability certification program in China. So we would like to integrate and would like to introduce international standards into China. And we would like to localize these international standards into our Chinese standards. Because we say localization is not just directly observed, directly use the maybe GSTC standards or other international standards. We want to add more local factor, local indicator, because our Chinese government do not want us to use direct use international standards. We would like to add our localization indicator into our own. And in this background and situation, I would like to say what we will do in China for our action plan, or what we will do to promote sustainable tourism in China. For action 1, we would like to develop our China sustainable tourism standards. And CSCA is our Chinese government agency, which the responsibility is to guide all the certification and certification scheme in China. All the standards should, and the certification program should registered in their system. Without their permission, we cannot implement any certification program in China. And right now, CSCA is give high priority in developing sustainable tourism standards in China. So we'd like to, and with many years of work in the sustainability tourism standards, we have worked with GSTC, and we know their standards framework, and also we have experience in working with EarthCheck. And as an auditor of EarthCheck, I get very familiar with their standards. And EarthCheck is one of the accredited certification body from GSTC framework. And the two standards, yeah, we can have very, for EarthCheck, their standards kind of complicated because they do not only use a kind of general indicator, they use many quantitative, and all the indicator, you can calculate the actual and amount of the carbon emission, and they use the quantitative indicator into their standards. So we would like to take advantage from these standards, GSTC and EarthCheck, to develop our Chinese standards. And also, during the standard development, we would like to use our national fund and some project opportunities to develop. And here I would like to introduce one of our national projects in China. The fund is from the MOST, we call the Ministry of Science and Technology. And this project name is called Research on Key Evaluation Technology of Modern Urbanization of Sustainable Development. And the total amount for this project is about $1.67 million. And the project will last around 3 years. And this project is called concentrate on the urbanization. But when we talk about urbanization, it covers several sectors, maybe industrial and service, transportation. But when we design this project, we integrate the tourism sector into this program. We'd like to use this program to develop our own standards of sustainable tourism. So you can say we have one sub-project. The name is Research on Key Evaluation Technology in Sustainability Certification Program. And the outputs, we would like to use the fund of the project, and we would like to develop the sustainable certification standards and also the sustainable certification program. Also, we would like to use this kind of opportunity to select maybe in 3 different kinds, like hotels, destination, and tour agency. And we would like to conduct the pilot project to judge whether the standards we develop is suitable and can be implemented well in China's situation. And also the final goal, we want to our standards to be recognized by GSTC framework. So we would like to, our China standards, we want to harmonize, use GSTC framework and harmonize easily with other international standards. So when we talk about harmonize, it's a very large topic. So for as far as my understanding, harmonize, we have 2 different levels. One is at the standard level, and another one is about certification scheme. For standards level, I think right now, all the certification body here, we have already have the fundamental basis for harmonization, because we all use the GSTC framework to develop our own. Some certification body may directly use the GSTC criteria, and some may maybe add some localization factor into our standards. So, but no matter what kind of standards, we use the same framework. So that's, we can say it's a good start for harmonization on the standardization level. So that's what we talk about today for harmonization. And also, as our agency has also do some harmonization standard certification scheme previous years in not the tourism sector, but on the energy efficiency. We also invite Asia countries like Indonesia, Vietnam, and some other Asian countries to harmonize our standards and certification scheme. So when we talk about harmonization, we will say before harmonization, we should have the cooperation first. Cooperation, harmonization, and then we will say mutual recognition. That's we think is the 3 steps for real harmonization. So for standards, we have also have the basis, good start for the harmonization on the standards and the GSTC framework. And later on, we would like this our objective to harmonize on our certification scheme. That means we can recognize each other's certification result. So that's our final goal. Not easy, difficult, hard way, long way to go, but we will work hard and under the GSTC framework, and we would like to all CBs can have the harmonization on the certification scheme, and we can recognize each other's certification result. So that will cost-effective, and we can save much money for the clients to apply for the certification, and will benefit a lot from this kind of harmonization. So I think that's our real goals. 1 level, harmonization on standards, and our final goal, the certification result. So that's the main points I would like to share with you at this opportunity. Thank you all.
Good, thank you very much. Excellent. So I think we have a good basis, so I'd ask the other 3 speakers, we could just try to keep your presentations down 6 or 7 minutes, so we have a little time for discussion. So if you get to a slide that you think we've already covered it, let's scoot on past. So who do we have next? Sorry, there we go. Marvin, please. It's up there.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name is Marvin, and I'm representing Veritas Certification Hong Kong for this presentation. And first of all, I would like to thanks to GSTC committee to invite Veritas for this meeting, and also we can speak regarding for the harmonization of standard. Yeah, but before I talk about harmonization, in these 2 days I talk with different parties in this meeting, and most of the people may be not very familiar with Veritas. So maybe first of all, I would like to introduce a little bit about our company. Yeah. Okay. So This is Veritas, and basically we are a leader of the testing of inspection and certification in the worldwide market. Yeah. Driven by our three core values of the companies, that is impartiality, independence, and integrity with expertise. We are helping our customer around the world to help assess the market, make sure the product safety and reliability, reduce the cost to the customer by providing subcontracting the supplier control to us, and to promote your brand by getting certification from us, and promoting trade. Finally, for some of the program, we are able to provide license to operate, that which is essential for business. Yeah. So it's a general figures for the company that we are a global company, and in 2017 our overall revenue is around 4.7 billion euro, and with worldwide staff with 76,000 people, and we have a client more than 400,000 in the world, and globally we have more than 1,400 offices, yeah, around the world. Yeah. So yeah, but anyway, the majority of our client is basically in traditional industry. So maybe that's one of the reasons that why most of the tourist company may not know about Veritas. Yeah. So in terms of history, we also have a long history. We start our business in 1828, yeah, and with a lot of different kinds of evolutions or expansions, yeah. Start from 1990s, we start to have a globalization to try to dramatically expand from one of a local certification body to a worldwide certification body, and after around 30 years of hard work, we are able to develop to be one of the leading company in certification business. Yeah. And also last year is one of our big year, because last year is also our 190 years celebrations for our development. Yeah. And for the market position, we would also like to introduce, we are in very strong or very good marketing position in different industrial aspects, crossing from marine, industrial, agri-food, and commodity, consumer products, as well. The most important part related to GSTC is the certification portion, which we are the top 2 in the global certification market. So I'm coming from certification portion of Veritas Group. So just a simple figure to show about the situations for the certification business. We have basically serving more than 140 countries around the world. We have more than 8,000 auditors across the world, which is able to provide auditing in anywhere around the world. Yeah. But I'm not sure if for some resort in Laos that is very outside of the country, that we still have, I believe we still have an auditor nearby, but we'll be able to support. But sure, we cannot stay one auditor in the countryside, yeah, to wait for the audits. Yeah. Okay, and our core value, yeah, our core value for certification, which is already shown in our mark, that is one is for truth and impartiality, and we are also trying to promote trade. Finally, we are using this certification core value to develop our program, which is trying to be a client focus, excellence, and most important, we are doing business in more ethical way, and we are able to perform certification in impartiality ways. So our auditor distribution across the world, you can see the simple diagram to show that our distribution basically is quite evenly distributed around the world across the North America, South America, Middle East, and Asia. We have numbers more than thousands of auditors in those countries. And we have most auditors in Europe because which is our origin, and we develop from here. So we have most customer in Europe. That's why you can see the numbers of auditors is the most. Yeah, but I would like to emphasize that even for other countries, for Asia country, in Africa, we are also able to support. Yeah, because we have sufficient numbers of auditors. Yeah. So our service will covering basically all of the industries, no matter is from traditional QHSE industry, transportation, and food, and also enterprise risk and customer audit, customized audit. Yeah, and finally, we also have a separated stream of service, which is sustainability. We are developed, and GSTC program from Veritas is also one of that within the sustainability stream in our company. Yeah. So talking about the sustainability in business, we are able to provide all majority standards across the world, including ISO 26000, UTZ, RSPO, FSC, PFC, and MSC even, which is more relevant to hotel and to hotel industry. Yeah. So finally, we would like to talk about Brewery Sustainability Program accredited by GSTC. Actually, we start our accreditation, or we present our interest to get accredited by GSTC started from 2017, and with 2 years working with ASI, basically we are able to, we are almost complete the accreditation process by ASI, and the features of our program is basically we are fully adopt GSTC criteria for hotel and tour operation as well as destination to develop our program. So it is allow the customer to easy adopt, easy to use the standard. Yeah. And our accreditation progress will be, we will have a hotel and tour operation accreditation at first, and then the destination will be coming the next. Yeah. And finally, what's the thing we can provide is in general for Veritas sustainability program, which is accredited by GSTC, we are able to provide one-stop service. Because we have a lot of auditor across the world, we are using single standard, yeah, across that, so you will able to have the consistent, global accessible, and high reputation, yeah, standard. If you are able to get certificate from Veritas, yeah. So that's my part regarding for harmonization and Veritas, yeah. So thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. I think your presentation really highlights that when you just think about the size of this one company, just think of the enormity of the entire industry. and the point there is that what GSTC framework is doing, as I emphasized earlier, looking at universal principles of ISO standards and so forth, and by taking to travel and tourism, this universal framework, which you can now see is applied incredibly at a very large scale. What that does is what we're trying to create in travel and tourism is now has the credibility, is accepted by conservation organizations. We keep talking about WWF for good reason, because they've really pushed that across many sectors, but national governments. So key players that really apply these things, this is GSTC's contribution, I think, is to take those universal processes, which you can all see now is just applied in an enormous way in industry and agriculture, commodities in general, and so forth. One interesting thing that we find is we play the role of packaging all this for travel and tourism, that we're service-oriented. The system was largely built for commodities, for making things, right? But we're finding that it works. It's a little bit, a few adjustments here and there, but we're fitting it in. So thank you very much. Sachin, please, India perspective, and another, like the others, working across many sectors with a rich understanding of how this massive framework works. It's Sachin, please.
Thank you, Randy. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sachin Raj, and I'm Managing Director of one of the certification body, which is based out of India. So in my presentation, I will just be very quick and share some information and facts about India and tourism in India that I'll share with you. Okay, so India is number 7 ranked out of 184 countries for travel and tourism sector contribution to global GDP. Third largest foreign exchange earner within the country. WTTC in next 10 years is announcing that India is becoming the third largest tourism economy. Jobs, 10 million jobs will be created in next 10 years. Government is really very serious and making efforts and investments to boost and develop this sector. We have 2 primary schemes which is going on, and government is investing a lot of money into these 2 schemes. It's Incredible India and Atithi Devo Bhava. I hope few of you must be knowing about these schemes who have must have seen some advertisement in the TV or the airports. So since we are seeing that there would be a lot of influx of the tourists coming into the country, so we realize the need of the responsible tourism, and certain sustainability has to be there within the system. Otherwise, what we see is the exploitation of the natural resources, degradation of the destinations, and that will cause reduction in footfall at various tourist hotspots due to unsustainable practices. Adopting responsible tourism in any form, either it's GSTC certification scheme, we have our own scheme being developed within the country, but that would definitely increase ability to comply with regulations, because all these schemes, they have this part within, built in it, where you are complying with the regular, normal regulations of the country. For an example, we had this messy fire breakout in New Delhi, I think 2 months back. It has killed 7 people. And in any of the standards, this would have been incorporated that this building must have been fire safe or regulated by the fire safe department. So these things can be taken care of with all kind of a certification scheme which is coming from sustainability or any kind of responsible tourism. So what responsible tourism can help is increase ability to comply with regulations, the local regulations, the country's regulations, helps in gaining competitive advantage, with other countries also. We are so happy to see here in the morning session how Thailand is moving forward in terms of the sustainability standard, and how the government is playing a bigger role in incorporating the sustainability into the tourism industry. Better reputation with the customers, because every customer, since my colleague in his presentation, he's mentioned about the communication, a label, what it communicates. What it communicates is that label. So customer wants to see that label and gets the assurance that, okay, I am at the right place and I am buying the right product. So definitely, like, we have a big campaign going on right now in India is called Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So those kind of missions can also be taken into the standard form, and which would reduce waste and accomplish the mission of accomplish the target of such missions. Looking at this scenario, India has also initiated a scheme which is called Sustainable Tourism Criteria for India, STCI. This is owned by the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, And actually it was started in 2010 when Indian tourism industry felt a need to establish the guiding principle. In 2013, STCI was launched during WTO International Conference in Hyderabad on sustainable tourism. In 2016, Ecotourism Society of India developed STCI, this criteria for accommodation sector, and the operator taking the reference of GSTC. In 2017, stakeholder consultation was done. In 2019, ESOI collaborated with us to develop this scheme further, and 2019, there are a few pilot testing was done. Now this is the structure of the scheme currently, where we have scheme owner, which is the government itself, and then there is a standard developer, which is a society, which is called Ecotourism Society of India, and we as third party, we are playing a role of certification body. So this is the process so far, where the drafting of the STCI based on GSTC principle and international best practices, the draft was made. After that, this stakeholder consultation was done. The first review of STCI document was done. Then there was a pilot testing, which is now over. Second review of the STCI is also done. Now we are in a stage of implementation of that certification process. So I will not get into a lot of detail of this complex slide, but just would like to tell you, while you develop a scheme, so it is not a document, a standard alone. With that scheme, you need to develop hundreds of other documents as well to establish that scheme, which includes different standards, which includes procedures, guidance, and other miscellaneous documents. And while doing so, you must follow certain international structures like ICIL Good Code of Practices, ISO 21, 65, SA 8000, 14001, and most important is User Guide 59 to develop this standard. So developing standard is not alone a process, but you have to have a lot of reference while developing this standard that you need to take care throughout the process. So just skipping this. Now coming back to this subject where we're talking about the harmonization. So why harmonization of STCI, which is the Indian scheme, with GSTC? Because complying with two standards in the same country can be a costly affair for a potential certificate holder. It may also slow down the whole concept of sustainability in this sector due to the confusion and ambiguity, because then it becomes business. And while you are pushing the sustainability through this standard to the industry or to the sector, so it is seen as the business, because it is coming from all these sides. There's one scheme coming from here, second scheme is coming from there. So the potential customer, they think that it is some kind of a business, but not sustainability at the core. Result is, and if requirements are mutually exclusive or conflicting, it may require for a potential certificate holder or somebody who has applied for the certificate, the different compliance approach. And we have seen it and we have experienced it, because the two standard for the same kind of certification may ask two different things. So, but how to get over this is like, if there is a harmonization in place, we are working in a chain, we are not competing with each other with different schemes for the same sector, then it can minimize redundant or conflicting standard, reduce complexity for the certification bodies even. It can evade needless competition with nationally accepted standard. And it would not be a business for everyone to come up and then make the standard and then come in the market to sell the standard, and then market is confused. international and national recognition to the businesses if the harmonization is in place. For an example, if our scheme in India, STCI, is recognized by GSTC, and there's no other scheme in the country, so the customer in the country would have a lot of confidence on this one scheme which is owned by the government and which is mutually agreed or mutually recognized by the GSTC. And if we would have like 3-4 schemes in the same sector crop up in the country and there are 2-3 mutual recognition body internationally, then there would be a lot of complex and ambiguity and confusion in the market. I'll just give you one example, what actually worked in India. So it was the same situation in India while there are 2 competing scheme in the forestry sector, FSC and PFC was there. Yeah. So Forest Stewardship Council is little inflexible in terms of their approach. What they want is they have their own principle and criteria which is fixed. So any country which wants to develop this scheme cannot really do much about it because they have to adopt the criteria, indicating principle as is. You can do a little tweaking in the system. So because their approach is from top to down. Now there is another competing scheme in the world which is called PFC based out of Geneva. What they do is they give you flexibility to develop your own scheme in the country with your own stakeholders, which is very much, pretty much relevant to your country's context and very relevant to your country. So you develop that scheme and they have set the international criteria for benchmarking your scheme. And once you develop your scheme, you go to them, get your scheme endorsed, and you are done with it. So what happens, you feel a lot of ownership while you are developing. You can engage the stakeholders from all these sectors while you are developing the scheme. So there are 2 different approaches. What actually happened after that, what really worked in India is this. Because now the government has really embraced this scheme because it is pretty much indigenous. People of this country have made the scheme. The ownership is ours. And we have at the same time the international recognition also through PFC. So now what is the advantage with PFC? PFC is also endorsed 45 other countries' scheme, the national schemes. Now this mutual recognition gives us this flexibility if that material, the forest material which is certified in our country, would be accepted in Malaysia also. If Malaysia has got certified this material, would be accepted in the India as well. So this gives the mutual recognition, which is really a very good facilitation rather than becoming a barrier. So this is a little bit about us. We are a very young and new certification body in the world, just 15 years. But in the sustainability world, a lot of people, I think worldwide, they know us because we are also accredited with FSC, PFC, ASC, and we have developed many schemes within the India also. So this is a little bit about us. So let's, I think we are done.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Good explanation of from the national perspective. And now to get directly from a national perspective, sorry, we only have 10 minutes left in the whole session, so if you could do this and shorten some of those slides and show us in Sri Lanka, he's from the Tourism Development Authority, where Sachin just gave us a nice outlook of what's worked in India in forestry and generally in a national context. Mr. Upali, please.
Aibowan. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Randy, giving Sri Lanka also an opportunity, and also thank to my panelists as well, Mr. Lee, Mr. Marvin, and also Sachin gave a very good start to have a national. And ladies and gentlemen, Sri Lanka, when we compare with giant international organization and also the countries like India, China, we are like an infant in certification as well. But still, let me take you forward how Sri Lanka going to start the national initiation on sustainable, will it work? Certification scheme. We are handing with GSTS TC, and also we get the support from the UNDP to start this program. And in my presentation, in short, I will enlighten how, why sustainability we focus for Sri Lanka tourism with a couple of examples, and also in our current strategic plan, how for the sustainability the attention was drawn, and also the proposed work plan as well as our direction toward future with the GSTC.
In 9 minutes.
Sorry?
In 9 minutes.
Yes.
Or less.
I'll try to be quick, and also to cut short, all beneficiaries of tourism, such as like the government or community or tourists or even a service provider, expect the benefits. Success in the tourism, which is what you see with the graph. The recent past, Sri Lanka was able to secure steady growth in tourism, and whereas both arrival and also the income, so you can see how the growth last couple of years. And then again, as we, from yesterday till now, we have been discussing, just obviously generate the impacts, particularly the impact community and also to the environment and the society, and with which let me show a couple of pictures. When taken our national parks, the current situation with the high amount of visitors, whereas expected situation, calm and quiet environment to the guests. This shows how we need to work hard. Also, let me show another tourism destination beyond the national park, cultural site, highest visited cultural site we call Sigiriya. Situation today is like this, but expected situation by the guest is the next couple of pictures. So we give you a message what we need to do for future. And also another famous beach area, very famous for surfing, and the current situation is particularly during weekend. This is the situation whereas the guests expect next environment or calm and quiet environment when they visit the destination. Coming to garbage, the situation, the actual pictures taken in some other places, whereas we want the calm and quiet or other kind of clean beaches for the tourism. This shows we need to work very fast towards something. As I already mentioned, the fast growing of tourism and give a lot of benefits as well as a lot of opportunities to the tourists and also all service providers, a happy situation. But it's still in the backside, what we see today is what we saw. And also, even from the government, not only the arrival but also income make a happy situation, but whereas in backyard, we saw what is happening. And currently the tourism development in the country is concentrated to the southwest coast of the country, the map of our country, and also some part in the central part of the country. Due to the difficulties we had in the past with the security situation, the tourism development in the north and east is quite limited, but still it has a promising resource base as well as a potential to grow. At the same time, we look at what is our future potential. As we all know, it's the fastest growing industry in the world, whereas we look at this as a great opportunity. And what we are looking at is in the country, from the current green area of the tourism development or other movement, to want to take the tourism into the other areas where the red color, where the future tourism development is targeted, as well as the tourism movement with the purple color, the route we are expecting to distribute the tourism benefit to all the community in the country, taking as a one destination. To do this, the sustainability requirement as well as the future opportunity capture, so we also have done a document 2 years before, vision document for 2025, and as an action plan, so we have done a tourism strategic plan, which is the master document we are using for the period of 2017 to 2020, and whereas this document is available on this website, if you want to refer. And also this document very well focused on the sustainability goal, which all we know, and these are the selected goals focused with this strategic plan. Of course, what important is how our commitment for this sustainability. Sri Lanka as a country in the first round signed agreement in Paris. We all know that France or Paris, there was a convention to sign for countries to commit for the sustainability initiative for the future. Among the first 72 countries, Sri Lanka was one of the countries. Moving forward, we have developed a sustainability policy for the country with a cabinet approval, and also go beyond. So each and every sector was asked to develop sustainability the policies, and also each industry was asked to develop strategies to take forward the policy of the sectors. So these are our official commitment from the government side commitment. With that, we also started sustainable development goal to reach with the climate change adaptation, and also the sustainability, another initiative, sustainable consumption and production. And also in tourism, what we are going to propose is National Tourism Sustainable Certification. To do that, what we look at as the background, we want to protect our resource base and also the maintain quality of the destination while they are using. And also we have a responsibility how we care about the future generation, mean to share the tourism benefit, how we work with today, leaving the same opportunity for the future generation, not only our own people, but also for future tourists we got to take care, and also the tourism business need to have a need to sustain in the future, then only the future of the tourism will be sustained. This is how we understand. And with this plan, it is very clear, vision document has given the world finest island, of course the text can be read, and also the mission is very clear, the high valued destination, and also the socially inclusive and environmentally responsible tourism is targeted with our vision and mission to the nation. And very clearly this document has given us the guiding principle among them, all these content in line with our sustainability initiative. I'm not going to read one by one, but again, the responsible destination marketing and the safety and security for tourists, and also the local community involvement and conservation management for tourism assets are very clearly mentioned, so which are in line with the sustainability initiative, what we are heading to do. And also how specific the sustainable development goals has been focused as per the exact scan copy of the one of the page of the document is given. SDG 8, 12 and 14 has been focused heavily with this plan. So these are things we have taken into consideration and reference that we have for us to commit toward the sustainability in the tourism subject. And among the key transformation themes given in this master document, which is the tourism strategic plan in our hand, is very clearly given the developing sustainable destinations. So this is what our background for us to start with sustainability initiative certification with the GSTC.
I'm sorry, we've already used our time,
Yeah.
so you're going to have to just give us a couple of very brief highlights on what you're doing with standards and certifications. You're going to have to skip some slides and just give us a couple of key points.
Yeah. Then again, the tourism was to take the #1 foreign exchange earner, as well as create many employment opportunities, and also the per day tourist income. So we have been focusing from 168 to heading toward 210 in 2020. Right now we are in 174. Then in the same document, it's very clearly given the sustainable tourism certification scheme to introduce for the country benefit, where the GSTC came forward to work with us, and with which, so we having this background, So we wanted a accreditation and guidance body, which is GSTC, and also the funding agency with the UNDP, with the biofin financing project. And we are working together. And finally, what we want is a very clear objective we have laid down in the sustainability certification scheme. And we want to protect our natural resources and culture and the environment, and also motivate industry stakeholders to have sustainable best practices and drive Sri Lanka tourism with UN SDGs, and also the create competitive advantage to attract tourists. This is not only a requirement, but also we look at as a opportunity for us to market the destination, and also the position in the future as a sustainable destination in the global market we are targeting. In the process, it's very clear. So we have started with a pilot project, and also the implementation arrangement has been done with the GSTC, and also the evaluation stage we are in, and finally in the pilot project we are going to do the certification. For the future, in the private sector, all the tour operators as well as the hoteliers, we want to incorporate in the phase 2. We consider the pilot project as the phase 1, and thereafter in the phase 3 we will be expanding this tourism certification into all the other services, including the community tourism in the country. And beyond the private sector service provider certification in the future, we are planning to take the responsibility of the public sector to develop destination regionally, and we have 9 provinces in the country. In 9 provinces, we are going to start regional destination development with the sustainability criteria of the GSTC. And also finally, so we will be able to reach all the destination where the tourist patronize with the recognition of the criteria of the GSTC with the certification we are planning in the future. Both private sector and the government sector together, so we will take care of the sustainability, the certification scheme or other sustainability initiative to bring the destination sustainable. And finally, the benefit of this whole scheme, how we understand, raise the destination, the sustainable standards, as well as increase consumer demand in the future, whereas the tour operators are now recognizing these initiatives, and also the minimum negative impact, and also the optimum natural resource caring, and also the local community support, as well as we want to be par with the international standard. Finally, we want to brand Sri Lanka as a destination which respected all these sustainability initiatives. In the pilot project, we have taken a sample of 46, we are on voluntary basis out of 4,700 hotels, and we can see the map behind how the hotel distribution, whereas the sample selected very well represented, and with this 46, very soon we are going to do the assessment and the certification with the GSTC. And also we have started the work. So this is the stakeholder consultation. So we had with all the tourism sector stakeholder expert, and came and gave us the input about last year, somewhere in June. And then GSTC came and helped us to have the training for all the applicants, for them to comply with for them to apply. Then again, we launched just last week our the program with the logo, which is what you see. So this is what we are going to certify as per the with the criteria of the GSTC. And with that, we are confident that National Sustainable Tourism Certification Scheme can drive towards as a sustainable destination Sri Lanka. With that, let me say thank you.
Wow, thank you, well done. You can talk quickly, well done. So in closing, let me say that I think you can see that the GSTC criteria don't trickle through the world. They flow in a large way, broadly, and having these minimal standards of GSTC criteria are really truly being applied. Just look at what we saw here in Asia. Apply that to the whole world. So I think that's how we were harmonizing. We've got our minimal standards. We're using these universal principles, these universal systems that have the best credibility possible. So thank you all very much for the hard work you're doing and presenting very briefly some very complex material. But thank you so much. A round of applause, please, for the panel.
Okay, I appreciated the spirit of your guests. I would like to thank all our speakers for this insightful speech. Thank you. And now, who register for full package and fix your post-tour program on 2nd of March, you can confirm your name again at register point. And who register for full package but not fix your post-tour program, if you want to join us, you can tell your name to my staff at register point in front of this room. Thank you.